Hello everyone, welcome back to Major Hi-Fi. I'm Luke. Today we have a new IEM from Queen of Audio. This is the Affinity. The Affinity is sitting in that kind of affordable price range IEM realm. It is $99, which means that it is not the cheapest thing you've ever bought, but it's definitely cheaper than the majority of IEMs in the market right now. Queen of Audio definitely tends to be more affordable. They do have models in the like 400, 500 range, but they have a number of models in this like 100 to 200 range, and they even have some models I think around like $59 if you want to go even lower. So let's go ahead and take this thing out of the box. So a simple presentation here, which I enjoy. It's just the case and the IEMs and some ear tips, just bare bones, just all you really need. So we've got a couple different bags of ear tips here. I believe in total we get 9 pairs of ear tips. And then here we have the IEMs. They come with this nice clear braided cable. The looks department on these is not anything crazy. It's got this kind of purplish, cloudy backing going on, and then a glossy black outer shell for the rest of the body. Their fit is definitely not my favorite. It's nothing like offensive. They definitely rely mostly on the ear tips to stay in your ears, which is not a problem generally. Like a lot of IEMs kind of do that where they avoid touching your ears too much and rely more on the ear tips, but these have this more molded shape that I feel like should be touching your ears a bit more, and they don't seem to quite lock in, at least not for my ears. Once again, everyone's body is different. It could fully be individual to me, but I think I have seen some other things about these just being a little bit hard to get a super snug, super tight fit on. I was able to maneuver them into the place I wanted them to be. Like by the time I'd spent a few minutes kind of like fussing around with them, it was fine. I wore them, I wasn't bothered, but it wasn't that kind of satisfying, like put them in, plug it in, good to go. I had to really figure it out. But besides that, they do look fine. They definitely don't look cheap, which I appreciate. They have this nice silver lettering on the back that's really detailed. Clear cable they come with is definitely very durable and feels pretty high quality. The Affinity use a 10mm titanium coated PN diaphragm dynamic driver, and it's paired with this silver plated 5N copper cable. They also have something called a dual layer resonance control system, or DLRC, which is meant to suppress sound attenuation and enhance the sense of space. And these have a frequency response of 20 Hz to 20 kHz and an impedance of 22 ohms. Hey guys, Luke here. Just wanted to pop in and say that if you're enjoying this video, it would be great if you could subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when we make new content, and hit the like button and leave us a comment if you have any suggestions or questions or anything like that. I would love to talk to you guys more. We would really love some help growing the channel, and just want to make sure that we're reaching our audience and whatnot. So yeah, any support is greatly appreciated, and let's get back to the review. All right, I guess we're putting things around our neck again like we did in the last video. So the Affinity sound quality wise to me are probably a little bit ahead of the pack with where their kind of level of precision is at, and their just overall sound quality to me feels like it's doing pretty good for the price. They do have a flatter, darker response to them. They are very EQable if you want to, like as most flat sounding IEMs are. You can take a few dB off there, boost a few decibels there, and you can basically get it to approximately wherever you kind of want. They have the capabilities to reach many different formats. And I definitely would say that EQing these would not be a bad idea, just because they are fairly neutral and flat, and they could be good for someone who maybe wants to play around with the sound between different styles and genres or applications. The low end on these definitely has a fair amount of impact to it, a pretty good attack. It doesn't provide a bunch of rumble or sub, but that's kind of in the interest of more balance, so I don't mind that. The low end seems to blend into the low mid fairly well. The low mid does feel pretty colored. That area definitely picks up a lot of kind of percussive timbres and attack heavy stuff and adds a little bit of saturation to them, which does definitely increase their detail and presence overall. When it comes to the high mids on the Affinity, they do feel a bit sharp at times. They're not the sharpest I've ever heard, but they kind of reminded me of this. IEM actually overall reminded me a bit of the Canera BD005 Pro. I'll link to my video on that below. It also reminded me a bit of some of the Eco IEMs, like maybe the OH1 a little bit, but the OH1 is probably a little more even across the board with the mid-range. And perhaps a bit of sort of like a Final Audio A3000 sound to them, but the A3000 to me is a little bit brighter and more subtle. This to me feels a bit flatter and more saturated. The brighter high mid on the Affinity is pretty offset by a much more damp treble sound to them that really does roll off around that kind of 10 kilohertz plus area. So if you want a glossy, shiny sound, these do not offer that, but like I said, they are only a couple EQ tweaks away from offering you that if you would like that. So I wouldn't say it's impossible to achieve that with these, but you just might need to push it a bit. But also a damper high end would make these better for compositions that have a kind of high end that's a bit too aggressive in the first place. Like a lot of electronic stuff can use some taming on the treble, or they could be used for more like, music from past decades, 70s, 80s, stuff like that, older recordings that maybe don't need quite as many boosts in the high end, either because they're already shiny in the way that the mics back then picked things up, or because they would start to sound unnatural if they had too much high end added to them. So good for getting that organic sound for sure, or for offsetting a synthetic sound and giving it a little bit more balance. In terms of the soundstage on these, it was just standard to me. It felt like kind of any other IEM soundstage I've ever heard, which is fine. Like, once again, these are not super expensive. They're not supposed to blow everything out of the water. So for me, the soundstage on these felt separated enough. It wasn't, the most like airy thing I've ever listened to, but it definitely didn't overly blend things to the point that stuff felt like super stuffy or congested. If you're listening to really busy mixes on these, they might not pick out every single last detail, but they'll get pretty close. And like I said, for the price, these do convey a lot of space and depth at the end of the day. All right, so overall, I feel like the Affinity is definitely a good contender in this lower priced IEM market. For live applications, this could be good for someone who wants their high mid a bit pushed forward to help them maybe hear like a female vocal or a guitar or keys or something like that. Or if you want that extra attack in the low end to really help you feel the energy of the music and get those rhythmic cues. For casual listening, like I said, these do well with brighter mixes. They do well with things that can use some taming in that area, some dampening, and they also do well with those organic sounding compositions that really want just kind of a neutral, flat response to work with and not a ton of accentuation going on in areas that might make them kind of go outside of the realm of natural feeling. So yeah, I think that at large, this should be able to please its listeners, and it definitely does sort of continue to give Queen of Audio a pretty good reputation. If you've tried these IEMs or other Queen of Audio IEMs, let me know. If you have questions about how these sound that I didn't answer, leave a comment, all that stuff. I'll get back to you when I can. I will link below to where you can purchase these per usual, and I will be back soon with some more videos and reviews. Until next time, happy listening.